All right, let's dive right in. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating venture that's taking on one of the biggest problems in the public sector, the massive breakdown of trust between people and the systems that are supposed to help them. We're going to look at their solution, which isn't just about fixing a problem, it's about building a scalable and, frankly, a very smart business model.
So this mission statement right here is our starting point. And you've got to pay attention to that phrase, hospitality-driven design. Now, that is not just some fluffy buzzword. No, it's a strategic move. It's about creating an experience that's welcoming, that's user-friendly, because when you do that, you're not just improving a service, you're building a brand that people actually want to connect with.
You know, every great business opportunity, every great investment, it always starts with a really big problem that needs solving. And right now, in the public space, that problem is a deep crisis of trust. And let's be clear, this isn't just a social issue, it's a huge market inefficiency, and it is absolutely ripe for a new approach. So what's the real cost here? When these systems fail, the fallout is enormous. We're talking billions, with a B, billions of dollars in wasted money, duplicated efforts, and just the long-term economic drag from a community that feels left behind. That is the multi-billion-dollar problem that this model is built to solve.
So what is the actual product here? Well, it's not just a building or a program. The real product they're selling is trust. And in this market, trust is the most valuable asset you can have. By creating an experience that's reliable and user-focused, they're building something that can be scaled and replicated anywhere.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, we see the massive market opportunity, so what's the solution? Let's get into the specifics of this really innovative and scalable platform called Pop Labs.
Now, don't just think of these as co-working spaces. That's not the whole picture. Pop Labs are really the community hubs that form the foundation for something much, much bigger. A good way to think about them is like the Apple stores of public service, a physical place that represents a brand built on trust, on access, and on a better way of doing things.
A hub for public good. It sounds great, right? But how does it actually work? How does the engine run? Let's break down the mechanics of the model, the operational how that makes this whole thing tick. The model really has three core functions that work together. First, they create a kind of marketplace of services by bringing all these different partners under one roof. Second, they drive real engagement with events and services people actually need. And third, and this is so important, they facilitate collaboration. This creates a powerful network effect, and maybe most critically for the business, it generates a ton of data on what communities really need. And this is where you start to see the true potential of the model. That phrase, measurable change, it's not just a nice sentiment. It's a data-driven process. Every single interaction, every service, every outcome, it's all tracked, it's all analyzed. And that creates this incredibly powerful data set that will become the engine for the company's future growth. Now, for a venture this ambitious to succeed, it has to be built on a rock-solid foundation. The how has to be guided by a clear why. So let's take a look at the core values that shape every single decision and really ensure this model's integrity and long-term success. First up, stability. Look, in a market where trust is everything, reliability is your #1 competitive advantage. By providing a service that's consistent, that people can count on day in and day out, Pop Labs builds incredible brand loyalty. And that user base is absolutely essential for the long game. Next, we have trust. I mean, for any platform to work, you have to get users, and you have to keep them. Pop Labs' commitment to actually listening to feedback, to using what they learn to get better, well, that's a powerful engine for user acquisition and engagement. It creates this amazing virtuous cycle of improvement and growth.
Then there's compassion. You know, a positive user experience is critical for any successful brand, but in the public sector, it is a total game changer. By treating every single person with dignity and respect, Pop Labs is building a brand that people won't just use, they will champion it. They'll become advocates.
Now this right here, this is a huge slide for any potential investor, accountability. The data that's collected here isn't just for showing social impact, it is a valuable asset. It provides these unprecedented insights into what communities need and what services actually work. This is the data that will power the company's future SaaS platforms. This is where the real growth is. And finally, collaboration. This is where the network effect of the whole model just kicks into high gear. By creating a platform where everyone can work together, Pop Labs is essentially building a defensible moat around its business. It becomes the one-stop, go-to solution for any organization that wants to be more efficient and more effective. Okay, so everything we've talked about so far is the community-facing part of Pop Labs. But that is just phase 1. That's just the beginning. Now, let's look at the long-term vision and the massive market that this company is getting ready to capture.
This is the North Star. The vision is a future where technology and real community building go hand in hand to create a public sector that's just more efficient, more effective, and yes, more compassionate. It's a huge vision, for sure, but it's one that is backed by a really solid, scalable business plan.
And here's exactly how they get there. Phase 1 is all about building that foundation, setting up the POP Labs, building the brand, and collecting all that crucial data. Then, Phase 2 is where the real scaling begins, with the launch of their own CRM platform for government and nonprofit clients. And Phase 3 will be a community-facing data platform, creating this powerful ecosystem that's going to be incredibly hard for anyone else to copy.
So this slide lays out the two sides of the business perfectly. On one side, you have the POP Labs. That's the community-facing, brand-building part of the operation. On the other side, you have the SaaS platforms, and that's the high-margin, revenue-generating engine of the company. It is a brilliant hybrid model that perfectly blends social impact with a very clear path to profitability.
And so we end on this question, which is really at the heart of the entire investment thesis here. This is not just another social enterprise. This is a company that has figured out how to turn compassion into a scalable, data-driven, and ultimately a very profitable business. Honestly, this is a pretty unique opportunity to invest in a company that's not only doing a world of good, but is also positioned to generate significant financial returns. So, if you're an investor who's looking for both impact and upside, I really encourage you to get in touch with the team at POP Labs. Thanks for tuning in.